Hello, everybody. My name is Christopher George. I'm going to read some flash fiction for you. I'm going to read about 13 pieces, but they're not very long, so don't worry. And you can applaud when I'm done with all of them, I guess. The first one is called The Future of Wallpaper. He stood at the kitchen window and listened as the coffee slowly started to percolate. He watched as the sun rode into his backyard on the back of a cloud. The sun and the treetops reminded him of the green wallpaper in the living room of the house he grew up in, where shapes of leaves were outlined with bright yellow lines, as if the sun shone on them. On winter days, he would stare into the wallpaper and pretend it was summer. He then thought of being at the river when the sun reflects off flowing water and makes the leaves on the shore turn into electric flashing lights. He then thought of standing with her in front of the bar they used to meet at, how the neon sign bathed the side of her face. He then wondered if neon lights would be part of the future of wallpaper, if one day his walls would glow and cast light on her. This one is called Sinatra. When I was a kid, there was a man operating a ride at a carnival who looked like Frank Sinatra. I walked up next to him as he yanked on a lever, and I was convinced he was Sinatra. The ride kicked into gear, and Sinatra reached into his apron and gave me a free ticket. He put his hand on my head, messed up my hair, and winked at me. The sky grew dark, and it started to downpour. The ride groaned and howled in the wind. It sounded like anyone could die at any moment. A nearby carny worker slipped on a thick black cord and fell to the ground. Sinatra pointed at him and laughed out loud to the point of exaggeration. That had to be Sinatra. This one is called The Neighbor's Driveway. We drove to the country to see the reindeer in the valley. I was very excited. It made me think of Christmas and all the stuff I would get. The reindeer were gathered around a feeder, and I realized they were just big deer. Then I remembered the day I saw a dead deer strapped to the roof of a car in the driveway next door to our house. I will never forget the way those eyes didn't look at me. I saw a black orb in the sky. It looked like a planet or a spaceship or something not of this world. I told my friend's dad about it, and he said he didn't see it. I pointed at it and said it's right there, which it obviously was. He said there was nothing there. I've never forgotten seeing that black orb, and now I understand why he didn't admit to seeing it, which I'll never understand. This is called The Time Capsule I Lose Sometimes. Sometimes I am space junk, a broken satellite swinging wildly and aimlessly without boundaries or memory of how the little things can matter more than the big things. Sometimes I move like a great blue heron, flying in a straight line 5 feet above the river, because I'm in control. We were always running from each other. Then I had that nightmare, the one where we both ran so far apart that finding our way back became impossible. But then I saw you in my next dream and felt relieved. In that dream, a woman was on a sidewalk a half a block away. I could tell it was you by the way you were standing. Your right leg swung in front of your left leg, as if you were dancing with the world. When I opened my eyes, you came tumbling out. I remember that morning and how we ran away from the world on those imaginary horses. It was a place that we called home for a moment. It was cradled by trees, and in the sky there were bird-like creatures who were trying to assure us they were angels. They were blue and clunky. They were feathery and metal. They were beautiful and broken. This is called Advanced Coral Gables Supermarket Design. I wish she would have waited until we got home from Florida to tell me what was bugging her. She pouted the entire plane ride down there. At first I thought she was unhappy with the amount of orange juice they gave her on the plane. Why can't they just give me the whole can? Then I thought she was annoyed with the size of the towel at the hotel. It's too small, it barely covers my body. Then I thought she was mad because they didn't give her enough melted butter for her lobster. I'm gonna soak it all up with the first dip. She broke up with me in the frozen goods aisle of a supermarket in Coral Gables. I told her I'd see her back at the hotel. I remember looking at the lines on the floor. There was a green one that led to the produce. There was a red one that led to the meat department. There was a blue one that led straight out the door. If there were hills on the wallpaper, many of the guests at the afternoon gathering would have been running into the walls when she walked in the door. We didn't see any ghosts that day because everything we looked at was real. The woods sat in silence, listening to the joy emanating from the people gathered there. The day ended and we had to go home, but if I was standing there now, I would still see the people I was with. I often have wondered if that's how ghosts are made, because every once in a while there's a day that never leaves you. Then life becomes like that. This is called, As Long as You Are With Me, Will You Remind Me of This Moment When I Am Lost. This is the part where we do what we can to make it all work, because we can hear life's clock ticking. As a reminder of this, we should all own clucking clocks with funny birds inside of them that come out every hour and do hilarious things like chirp, waddle, and splay. On 4th of July, 1976, I walked down the street with my gal. I had a beer in my right hand and my left arm was around her waist. I put a finger through one of her belt loops and pulled her close. She leaned her long feathered hair into my shoulder. She saw a puppy dog in the window of a pet store. We went to look at it and she wanted to buy it, but the store was closed. She named it George Washington and tapped on the glass. Soon after that, we got really drunk and forgot about George Washington. I just realized the other day that George Washington must be dead. We went for coffee with my mother-in-law. It was a walk-up place on the boardwalk. The coffee was served in fancy teacups. My wife said she wished we had cups like that. My mother-in-law looked at me and said with a judgmental voice, "Why haven't you bought her cups like that?" I told her I'd never really thought about it before. This one is called When We Were Aliens. We traveled to another planet on a rocket ship. It was strange to finally hurtle through space after staring at it our entire lives. The beings there led us into a structure. There was carpet on the walls. Magazines were shaped in circles. Pictures were under a clear substance on the floor. The ceiling was transparent, and they were kind to us. This is the last one. Those little ships, constructed in the bottle, how small they seem, how free they roam the sea. She is beauty in a bottle kept in my mind. She is free in the sea, taking on waves by waving back. Thank you.